This section heading is called automatic checkpointing. So now within your Hadoop architecture, your NameNode is your manager of your file system. And the way that it's going to keep up with changes in the file system is it's going to use this process that's known as checkpointing. Now, when you think of checkpointing, think of merging two files. We're going to merge what is known as the FS image file with the edits file. So your FS image file, think of this as like a snapshot. So think of it like a point in time of your file system tree. And then any changes made to that file system in between when we actually merge these files, when we're checkpointing, is going to be stored inside of the edits file. So now, with regards to automatic checkpointing, this process is going to occur on the name node when it initially starts up, and then thereafter it's going to use the secondary name node to essentially do it at predefined intervals. So now let's take a look at our current setup. So we said that automatic checkpointing is performed initially by the name node when it boots up, and then thereafter we're going to have the secondary name node essentially taking care of that task. Now, the way that we currently have things configured is inside the masters file, we specified to run that daemon on a remote node within the cluster, but it's not actually doing the checkpointing after the initial boot of the name node. What we have to do is we have to add a little bit extra configuration on the secondary name node in order to enable it. So now to set this up, the first thing that we're going to need to do is to establish an SSH session with the secondary name node. Once on here, the file that we're going to edit is going to be hdfs site XML. So we're going to type nano and then user local Hadoop inside conf. We'll find that file. So now all we need in order to enable checkpointing is two property elements inside of here. We're going to add three, and I'll explain why in a moment. So first, let me go back over to the topology. So the process that we need, or the configuration that we need in order to enable checkpointing on this remote secondary name node, is we have to define the listeners that's going to be used in the checkpointing process. One on the name node and then one on the secondary name node. So now we're going to add, as I said a moment ago, three property elements. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use this top one as a template. And then we'll define those three property elements. So the two that we need are going to be these first two. So we're going to set up the listeners that's used in the checkpointing process. So we're going to type HTTP and then it's dot address. So first we'll define the one for the name node. So it's going to reside at master. The default port used for checkpointing is 570. And now we're going to define the one for the secondary name node. So we're going to type secondary name node and then .http.address. So this is going to be located at snapshot, and then the default port is 590. Alright, so those are the only two property elements that we need to enable checkpointing on this secondary name node. Now this last one here is just to verify that we are in fact checkpointing on this node. So the default time for checkpointing on the secondary name node is going to be 3600 seconds or 1 hour. So we don't want to have to wait that long in order to verify that we are in fact checkpointing on this node. So we're going to set this to a really low value. So we're going to first say checkpoint dot period, and then down here we're going to set it to 10 seconds. Alright, so now we're going to save and exit. Alright, so now the next thing that we're going to do is we need to essentially set everything up. So we've got to format HDFS and also fire up all the daemons. So we're going to open up a new terminal for this. So we got to do this from the name node. So we're going to type SSH to support at master. Then we will format the file system, Hadoop name node dash format. Now we'll fire all the daemons. And now what we're going to do to essentially verify that we are in fact checkpointing on that secondary name node is we're just going to explore essentially where the files are stored. So we're going to explore them using tree. So we're going to type tree. First we're going to do it here on the name node. So we're going to look under temp and then under Hadoop support, and there you can see the checkpoint files. And if we come over to the secondary name node now and do the same thing, so we're going to type tree, and now we're verifying that that action or that process is being performed over here, and we can see that it is. Alright, so now just a quick review of the file. So we have the edits file. So your edits file, as we said, is used to store incremental changes in between when we're actually checkpointing. Your FS image file, this is essentially the file system state at a point in time. And once again, any changes to that state in between checkpoints is stored in the edits file. So your FS time file, this just lets the system know when the last checkpoint was actually performed. And then inside of version, this has essentially identifiers and things like that that we need in order to essentially not only identify the namespace, but in order for us to access it.